The night was unusually quiet in our suburban neighborhood, the kind of silence you only noticed when something broke it. At 2:14 a.m., my car alarm did exactly that, blaring into the stillness, like a siren calling trouble. I rushed outside, barefoot and annoyed, fumbling with the keys to shut it off. But before I could even silence it, porch lights began flickering on across the street. And then, like clockwork, she appeared. Karen. Karen, the self-proclaimed queen of our HOA, stormed out in her robe, arms crossed and fury dripping from her voice. Unbelievable. Middle of the night? You people have no respect for this neighborhood. I tried to explain, it's just a glitch in the sensor. I'm handling it. But Karen wasn't the kind of woman who listened. Her phone was already in her hand. You know what? I'm done warning you. I'm calling the HOA and the police. Clearly, you don't belong in a respectable neighborhood. Her words stung more than I wanted to admit. I'd moved here for peace, not conflict. But Karen had targeted me ever since I bought the house. Complaints about my lawn, my guests, even the way I parked. Now, with the car alarm, she had ammunition. Within 10 minutes, 2 squad cars rolled up, lights flashing. Neighbors peeked through blinds. Like it was the neighborhood's midnight entertainment. Karen strutted to the officers as if she had summoned them personally. Officers, thank you. Finally, someone can deal with this nuisance. She pointed at me like I was a criminal. One officer walked toward me. Sir, we got a noise complaint. What's going on? I calmly explained about the faulty sensor, even offered to pop the hood and show them. But before they could respond, Karen interjected again. He does this all the time, disturbing the peace. Suspicious cars in and out. Always some excuse. I'm telling you, this man doesn't belong here. The officers exchanged looks. I noticed one of them tense, as if holding back something. Finally, the taller one leaned toward his partner and muttered, just loud enough for Karen and me to hear, "Detective's home. Chief's not gonna like this call." Karen froze. Detective? What do you mean? And that was the first crack in her armor. The other officer smirked. Karen, you just reported one of our department's best. Chief will want to hear this himself. Karen's confident grin faltered. My car alarm had gone silent, but the tension had just begun. The murmurs from the neighbors grew louder as the squad. Car radios crackled with static. One of the officers picked up his mic. Dispatch. Notify Chief. We've got a situation at Detective's residence. Over. Karen's jaw dropped. Detective? You mean him? She jabbed a finger toward me, her voice shrill. That's impossible. He's just some noisy neighbor with a junk car. The taller officer, Martinez, folded his arms. Ma'am, that junk car belongs to a detective in our department. You just filed a complaint against an officer of the law. Gasps rippled through the gathering crowd of pajama-clad neighbors. Karen's face turned a shade of crimson, but she puffed herself up anyway. Well, officer or not, rules are rules. HOA regulations don't bend for anyone. If he's disturbing the peace, I have every right to... Headlights swept across the street, silencing her mid-sentence. A sleek black SUV pulled up, and out stepped Chief Reynolds, a man whose presence commanded instant attention. His voice boomed before his feet even hit the pavement. Who thought it was a good idea to drag me out here over a car alarm? The officers stiffened. Karen, however, rushed forward with theatrical urgency. Chief Reynolds, thank you for coming. Finally, someone who will take me seriously. This man, he's reckless, disruptive, and enough. The chief's glare cut her words in half. He turned to me, his expression softening. Detective, you all right? I nodded, suppressing a smirk. Just a faulty sensor, Chief. Nothing more. Karen blinked rapidly, like her brain was rebooting. Wait. You're actually a detective? That can't be true. Why would a detective live here, in this neighborhood? He doesn't act like one. The chief's eyes narrowed. Ma'am, you have no idea how much this man has done for this city. You should be thanking him, not harassing him. The crowd murmured in agreement. And for once, Karen didn't have a ready comeback. Still, her pride wouldn't let her back down entirely. She crossed her arms, forcing out, Detective or not, the HOA doesn't make exceptions. He still has to follow our rules. The chief stepped closer, towering over her. His voice dropped, sharp and commanding. The law trumps your HOA, lady. And as far as I can see, the only person disturbing the peace tonight is you." Laughter erupted from the neighbors, muffled but undeniable. Karen's cheeks burned, but she hissed through her teeth. "This isn't over. Not by a long shot." As she stormed off into the night, Chief Reynolds shook his head. "She's been a problem here, hasn't she?" I exhaled. "More than you know, Chief. And something tells me she's just getting started." The chief gave me a firm pat on the shoulder. "Then we'll be ready for her." But none of us knew just how far Karen was willing to go. The following morning, the neighborhood buzzed with the fallout of last night's showdown. Word traveled faster than wildfire. Karen, the queen of complaints, had tried to report a car alarm only to discover her target was a detective. Some neighbors gave me subtle nods of respect as I left for work. Others whispered, amused at Karen's humiliation. But Karen? She wasn't one to lick her wounds quietly. By the time I got home that evening, a bright orange notice was taped to my garage door. Violation, repeated noise disturbance. Immediate correction required or fines will be imposed. Signed, HOA President Karen Whitmore. I ripped the paper down and sighed. Of course. My phone buzzed almost immediately. A blocked number. I answered. "You think last night scared me?" Karen's voice spat venom through the line. "Chief Reynolds might have had your back, but the HOA is bigger than him in this neighborhood. I'll make sure you regret ever moving here." I stayed calm. "Karen, the alarm's already fixed. There won't be any more disturbances. Why are you pushing this?" Her laugh was cold. "Because rules are rules, and I decide who belongs here." The line went dead. Hours later, I noticed a black sedan parked across the street. Same car, different spots. Watching. My instincts as a detective screamed. This wasn't just HOA harassment anymore. I stepped outside casually, pretending to grab the mail. The car's windows were tinted too dark to see inside, but the engine revved and it pulled away slowly, almost deliberately. That night, I documented everything. Photos of the violation notice, the strange car, timestamps. Years on the force had taught me one thing. Paper trails win battles. The next morning, I drove to work. But halfway through the day, I got a call from Chief Reynolds. His tone was grim. "Detective, you better get home. HOA filed a formal complaint with the city, accusing you of misconduct. They claim you threatened residents." "What? That's absurd." The chief lowered his voice. "I know it's bogus, but Karen's rallying others in the HOA. She's digging for dirt. And somehow, she got access to your personnel file. If she spreads the wrong details, this could get ugly fast." My grip on the phone tightened. "She's not just trying to find me. She's trying to ruin me." Chief Reynolds's reply was sharp. "Then it's time we turn the tables. Tonight, I'm coming over. We'll pay Karen a visit, with evidence." As I hung up, I glanced out my window. Sure enough, the black sedan was back, watching, waiting, and I knew. Karen wasn't working alone. By nightfall, the tension in the neighborhood felt thick enough to choke on. Chief Reynolds arrived in his SUV, parking right in front of my driveway with the kind of authority that made curtains twitch and porch lights blink on. He stepped out carrying a thick folder. "Got everything we need right here," he said, slapping it against his palm. "Karen thinks she's clever, but she left fingerprints all over this mess." We walked together toward Karen's house. She was already outside, arms folded, lips pressed into a thin smile. It was like she'd been waiting for us. Well, if it isn't our chief and the neighborhood nuisance," she sneered. "Here to intimidate me again? Because that's exactly what I'll be reporting to the HOA board." Chief Reynolds chuckled, low and dangerous. "Karen, we're not here to play games. We're here to expose them." He opened the folder and pulled out a series of documents. I leaned closer and froze. They weren't about me. They were about her. Property disputes, fraudulent HOA expense reports, a string of bogus fines issued to multiple homeowners, funneling money into a private account. Karen's smug expression cracked. Where did you get that?" The chief stepped closer, holding the papers up for the growing crowd of neighbors now gathering around. "From city records, and from a whistleblower in your own HOA board. You've been bleeding this neighborhood dry, Karen. All those fines? All those violation notices? They weren't about protecting property values. They were about padding your pockets. Gasps erupted. Murmurs turned into angry whispers. Neighbors who had once been afraid to challenge her now saw her for what she really was. Karen's face twisted with rage. This is slander. You can't prove anything, but I cut her off. Funny you say that, because I have security footage of your little black sedan friend circling my house. Care to explain who he is? A private investigator you paid with HOA funds? Her eyes darted wildly, searching for an escape. But there was none. Chief Reynolds's voice boomed over the crowd. You reported a detective's car alarm, tried to smear his reputation, and in the process exposed your own corruption. Karen Whitmore, you're finished. Neighbors erupted, some cheering, others demanding refunds. Karen, cornered, tried one last bluff. You can't touch me. The HOA protects me. But the chief smiled coldly. Not tonight. Tonight the law does. As officers stepped forward to escort her away, Karen's shrill voice echoed through the night. This neighborhood will regret this. You'll all regret this. But the crowd only grew louder, drowning her out. Chief Reynolds turned to me, his hand heavy on my shoulder. You've got a quiet home again, detective. And this time, it'll stay that way. For the first time in weeks, I breathed freely. The car alarm was silent. The neighborhood was calm. And Karen's reign of terror was finally over. Enjoying this wild HOA Karen story? Hit that subscribe button to catch more jaw-dropping neighborhood dramas. Also, give this a like if you're hooked. And drop a comment. What would you have done if Karen called the cops on you?